My name is Brian Johnson. I'm here today to present my final thesis presentation. Thank you for hosting me. And it was a pleasure, and it's been terrific today, so and throughout the week. So let's get right to it. Quick introduction teaser video that I've prepared. So how did I get here, and what was that? I saw a problem for my thesis opportunity, and I wanted to solve it. I've been a truck owner for 25 years, and I've had every aftermarket part that you could imagine for them. And the one that I found the most useful yet inconvenient was the truck topper, or some refer to it as a camper shell or a truck cap. It's a great addition, and it adds a ton of utility to the truck, but it's not very convenient in many cases. So, and the overarching problem that I found was, one, the movability and versatility limitations to the existing archetypes. So, research highlights. Through my quantitative research, I found what I expected to find through my interviews and observations. Kind of confirming the limitations of the user, and you can see some examples here of people trying to lift the topper and kind of get it started to get it moved. So 95% of the users that I talked to had weight issues, and then 80% had storage issues, and 85% had accessibility issues with the toppers. So my qualitative research kind of uncovered some regulatory constraints with regard to the topper, all via the Federal Motor Carrier Administration. Number one being the third tail light. Any vehicle after 86 must have an operable third tail light in the back. So if you're putting a topper on a truck, you're going to have to provide some kind of tail light to be within the law. And then secondarily is the load security at highway speed. So you have to have something that keeps whatever you're hauling from the potential of it blowing off or shifting in transit. Condition statement. The market via SEMA over the last 3 years, as you can see, in 15 we had a $31 billion aftermarket part industry, and it's grown at a fairly nice click. 39 in 2016 and 41 in 2017. So as you can see, there's a positive market or positive trend in that market. There's a lot of opportunity, and I got the opportunity to make a difference in users' life. I've had one. I know people. I've talked to users, and keep them from just tearing up their product or their truck, or even in some cases hurting themselves because they don't have the right ways to move or lift them. So here is a video I put together about my target market.
My target market is the light truck product industry, but more specifically, the accessory and appearance products in the segment. The users in this category are off-road enthusiasts, overlanders, weekenders, and outdoor enthusiasts. The market users have a few things in common. They have gear and they want to protect it. They usually have a passion that drives their interest in the market segment, and they expect inherent functionality. The users have an innate sense of preparedness. Users expect the accessories they purchase to be purposeful, durable, deliberate, and substantial. They want accessories that will hold up over time, and they don't mind spending some coin for quality products. The segment includes toppers, cargo management systems, ladder racks, aftermarket bumpers and wheels, light bars, and a plethora of other segment content.
There is a lot of crossover in the user category, but users typically fall into one of the three following categories. Pragmatist. The customer that falls into this category is someone that wants things to be workable, functional, rational, reasonable, and efficient. The product meets some requirements that they have. This would be someone that does not necessarily associate themselves as a participant in the target market, but has specific needs that they want filled. Stylizers. These are users that seek the appearance product category. These users have a certain style that they prefer. These are the people who want to customize their truck to make it look less stock. Often these accessories offer a benefit that OEM parts can't match. Stylizers research and investigate the products that they spend money on to find the exact aesthetic to promote continuity. Outdoor enthusiasts. These users have gear and want to protect it. They are sporting enthusiasts of all kinds. They range from kayakers to hunters. They buy gear that allows them to pursue their outdoor passions, and most spend a lot of money on that lifestyle and equipment. Like stylizers, these customers research and investigate the products that they spend money on and don't mind paying a premium for products that give them an advantage. So, problem statement. As you can see, that my target market is broad and my users are quite diverse within the industry. So the one thing that all of these users have a propensity to is protect cargo in their vehicle. And this could be either the gear or shelter in some cases. The market is full of products that try to match this and try to get this done. But I found three kind of factors and problems with those products through my research. So my thesis statement: I want to redefine the concept of a truck-mounted enclosure, commonly referred to as a camper shell or a topper. This product needs to be rigid enough to protect the cargo and solve the movability and versatility limitations of existing archetypes, and it needs to be able to be deployed by a single person, but yet versatile enough to deal with the constant cargo requirements, the constant changing cargo requirements of the user. So these are my project goals here. A topper to be manipulated by one person, collapsible, disassemble, easy to reassemble. The components must be light, they must be secure, weather resistant, and versatile, and expanding architecture to fit different trucks. So problem identification, weight, storage, and accessibility. In the category of weight, multiple people are needed to hoist what's on the market now, the existing archetypes. They're kind of awkwardly shaped, so even with the right amount of people, they kind of are wonky to put on. So what happens in this case is that you can see this is kind of precariously perched on this lift here, and it takes a lot of people on all four corners of these, and still you can damage the topper, you can damage the truck, and if you don't have enough people, you can injure yourself. So storage has a direct correlation to weight. You can see in the center here somebody lifting it with a hoist mechanism. And then you've got people that put them on horses, and this is an eyesore. This sits outside your house or in your neighborhood, and I can imagine this wouldn't be the greatest thing to look at. So storage is a big deal with toppers, and where to put them and how to store them. And accessibility, because of the monolithic kind of shape, they're difficult to access the roof racks. You can see that in these pictures here. The guy standing on the wheel, and this is inconvenient at best, but could be dangerous in some cases. So this is just a kind of a progression of the three ideas that came out of my research and ideation. So
my first idea was a solution for an existing product on the market called the Lightener Rack, which is a cargo management system. I had the idea to make rigid panels that fit their product, in turn converting it to a truck topper. My second idea was to develop a modular system that could be assembled in various configurations to adjust to the cargo requirement of the user. The system would contain structural ribs at appropriate integers, and the cover would be made from a semi-flexible material. My third idea was a topper that folded over the cab to be stored in a bin as part of a roof rack when not in use. The system was going to be constructed from canvas-like fabric, making it light and easy to deploy.
So all those were kind of really good ideas, I thought, at the time, but the one that stood out to me the most was the modular concept. And the reason for that is simple, is that you can take that topper completely off. The other ones had to somewhat stay associated or attached to the vehicle. So in reviewing all this, I found that nothing like this on the market existed. So obviously I was pretty excited about that. So I wanted to protect my IP, so I went through the patent process, and you can see over there I've got a patent pending number, and it's within the next, hopefully, a couple of months, I'll know whether or not it's accepted. But it's been through the research phase, and you know, everything looks to be on track, so I'm excited about that. Another quick video just to kind of show you my inspiration and where I gleaned that inspiration from.
My inspiration came from two very different sources as it relates to toppers.
The ORU kayak and commercial folding bins. I can't remember where I first saw the ORU kayak. I believe it was on the web somewhere. But what stood out to me the most was the destruction test I saw of the product. They threw the kayak off of a 3-story building. I remember thinking to myself right then, if that kayak could take that kind of punishment, the material would be perfect for a truck topper. My other inspiration came in the form of plastic commercial folding bins. The structure of the bins gave me the idea for the structural support of the topper. These bins are light, relatively speaking, and can hold hundreds of pounds. So the modular option, what solidified the idea and just kind of really put it into a different category was the coroplast material, which is on the topper there that you see. And the reason for that is because it meets all the requirements of the criteria for the design. It's foldable, it's collapsible, and as you saw with a kayak, you can throw it off them. It's not indestructible, but kind of is a really solid material for this purpose. And it was also paramount that the whole device could be, like I said earlier, that the whole device could be removed from the bed of the truck. So this is a video about kind of my design development and the exploration that I went through, kind of start to finish of that. So, with the modular concept as the lead idea, I began to explore sketch models and development drawings that considered how the concept might look and function. I also began to build a Phase 1 prototype to explore the scale and validate my ideas. This prototype helped demonstrate that the concept was feasible. With a strong general form of what the structures and materials look like, I began to consider options for stylizing the structure and start to explore functional concepts. It was at this point a Phase 2 prototype was started so that I could explore materials chosen for the topper's panel. I cannibalized an existing topper for structural support so that I could test it at highway speeds. The material performed better than I expected. At 60 miles an hour, there was barely any movement in the prototype. At the end of the design semester, I had what I thought would be the look that would persist into the implementation phase. Aesthetically, the angled, purposeful style matched what users could find on aftermarket parts in the industry. However, my summer of prototyping uncovered a new concept. The intent of the initial design was still present, but the angles were a bit more subtle and the look reflected a more purposeful character. The aesthetic goal for instant recognition from others was still there, and the idea not to conform to the shape of any particular truck's profile or line was still intact. One of the benefits to this idea is that the topper can be moved with the user instead of being sold as part of the truck. A simple change in a center beam means that the piece can fit multiple trucks and have a longer life cycle. So, summer of prototyping, I mentioned that. I took one summer to validate this thing, to build it completely out, from scratch, as almost a proof of concept. So, you saw in the video that it was essentially an angled look, and that was going to be a plastic injected molded ABS material, and I moved away from that to an aluminum for a couple of reasons. The users in my the users of the product in that market kind of associate, steel and strength with, durability and longevity and, the ability for it to take the punishment necessary. So I moved into the aluminum phase of the design. And also for a couple of reasons. It's a lower startup cost. I mean, I could produce this thing out of aluminum with, I have an understanding of laser cut material and bending it, so I kind of already knew a little bit about that. So I could, start this project and maybe even go further than just a prototype into a real product that come along for much less than I could with injected plastic molding. So that was kind of one of the big things I learned during the summer. And as you can see here, I had to create jig tables and heating metal and bending it by hand and then fabricating it up and test fitting it. And I've got hundreds of pictures, and this is just a small example of that. So you can see here test fitting, and then all of them come together and it culminating into this viable topper that you can take down the road at highway speeds with no problem. So manufacturing was probably my favorite part of the process. I just learned so much. I talked to an engineer, a local engineer in Tennessee, and just learned so much. He was able to sit down with me and help me hatch out some and create some efficiencies in this, and it was just terrific. So the one-piece T, lower T is this section here, and I had multiple pieces to make that up from fabricating it, in my garage. And so he helped me understand that, that all could be cut out of one specific piece. And then the slot and tab, which you see here, was just an indexing point so that you could index the T in the correct orientation without a lot of jig work and then weld it up. And all these things just added tremendous value and benefit to processing and making this. And then, of course, I learned about aluminum as far as what types of material did what under what stresses with the bending. And so it was one of my favorite parts of the entire process. Very fun and very fulfilling, and also I just learned a ton. So my business plan. As you can see here is my bill of materials, and then I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to be selling this at around $2,000-ish, which is in the line of the market. That's kind of what you would get for a fiberglass topper, but I'm giving you the value of the fiberglass topper plus without all the inconvenience of it. So it's close, and I still have maybe to work on those numbers a little bit. But my first year in business, I want to build enthusiasm for the product. I want to develop the brand, obviously, and then put it into the hands of the correct people, market influencers, and then start to sell them. And then kind of what you see now there is kind of the third year design, right? There's some more things, some more features to come, some more addition to this later on down the road, maybe in the fifth year. But in the third year, I want to build partnerships, continue to build them and define them, and then increase sales. That's what it's about, right? And then the fifth year, I would like to improve the product. All this kind of culminates into kind of the ultimate high volume product on the market, and then start to maybe introduce accessories at that point, and maybe somewhere in the fourth year, or the second year, introduce some accessories as well. So that's the business plan. So closing statement, what's next? So what's next for me is really that first year. That first year, start checking those lists off, and start building the brand. There's some things that I learned through every prototyping phase. I've learned just tons, and so there's some things with this one that I'd like to change and pursue in the next phase. And I've got that prototype is actually sold. Somebody's bought it off of me, and I've had a lot of people, a lot of interest. I've had it in front of a lot of people that sell toppers. I've met with them, and a lot of positive feedback, and can't wait to see what kind of comes of this thing in the coming 6 months. I'm really excited about it. So that's it. Thank you for your attention. I'd be happy to try to answer some questions.